Had plans shattered and broken, things I've hoped in fall through my hands. You have plans to redeem and restore me. You're behind and before me. Oh, help me believe.
Gentlemen, I'm sure you have wondered what this large canvas is behind me in all my videos. We're going to go over today what it is and the fact that I actually made it from scratch. It has some scriptures on it that I like, and I'll show you how I did it, sort of like a brief synopsis on how I made this thing. So starting off, this thing is obviously pretty big. It's actually 78 inches in width, which is 6'6", and 37.5 inches in height. The two scriptures on here are 1 Corinthians 4:8-9 and Romans 8:37. Both these two scriptures, when you read it, you probably think of like whenever I made this, I was going through a bad time or something. I really don't remember, to be honest. I don't feel like I was going through some kind of bad time in life or anything. But it says, "We are surrounded on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. We are more than conquerors through Jesus who loves us." It's something to me that's kind of timeless. Anytime that you are going through a bad time, there's been times where I've looked up at this thing after not really looking at it for like a year. I made it many years ago, and so it's sometimes nice to just kind of reread it. Something that's a timeless scripture that could apply to you in the hills and valleys of life. So the way I made this thing was actually just by going to Lowe's hardware store, buy some 2x4s, make a wooden frame. It's obviously a large rectangle shape, but I wanted the edges to not be 90-degree corners, so I just integrated the diagonal corners there. Made the frame. With how large it is, I had to, kind of put it on a table where I could pinch the wood and hold it together while I was screwing everything together. I'm a big fan of wood screws, like the black ones. They're like real long, 2.5, 3-inch black wood screws. Those to me work a lot better than wood nails. But just made the frame, and then I went and bought a canvas, I think probably Hobby Lobby or something, stretched the canvas real tight, stapled it down with a staple gun all along the frame, just made sure it was perfectly tight and flat. And then I got some faux paint, faux finish type paint. It's a real thick paint, obviously gray, and put on a real thick layer of faux. I think I actually wound up doing it 2 or 3 times ultimately, but put on a real thick layer of the faux paint, and then took one of those like coral looking sponges or loofah type thing. It looks like a coral rock, but it's a sponge. It has a whole bunch of holes in it, and I just would flip it on all different sides. It would be a different pattern, and I would turn it in a circular pattern, or I'd swipe it diagonally, vertically, whatever, all different directions, even just pat it on there, and that would make this raised effect with the faux paint. And then when the faux paint dries and it's that thick on a canvas, it cracks everywhere as well. So you wind up with this really cool texture that's super customizable, or you can personalize the texture with whatever you want to do. After that, I got letter stencils. I'm a big fan of like the papyrus, or I believe that's how you say it. If I said it wrong, I'm sorry. But like almost like the old Greek text or something, that just like that old style of writing. So I got the stencils and just like standard brown paint, lined it up with a yardstick, and once I got it all straight with the yardstick, I used some painter's tape. Painter's tape is really good. The blue painter's tape it won't peel the paint off once it's dry. A lot of times if you use a real sticky tape, it'll peel the paint off of the wall or the canvas or whatever you're using. So painter's tape and a yardstick, lined it up perfectly straight, as best I could at least, and then just started in on my stencils and what I wanted to write. Commas and punctuation and whatnot, I just did freehand. Didn't have a stencil for that, but that's easy enough. That's it in a nutshell. And I actually made this in the garage of my parents' house many years ago, before I got married to my wife. And when I got married, my wife and I moved in together, and I had to have a car. I don't have a truck, so I had to put this thing in the trunk, and it was sticking out super far out of my trunk. You know, like here's the trunk, into the trunk, and it's way out here at a slant once I'm going down the road, sticking out the back of my car. But we got it here and hung it on the wall. And there you go. Hopefully that answers the question that anyone had of what this is that's behind me in all my videos. It's just a simple, good, nice background that I was able to make myself. I think the last thing that I'd like to say is just, you know, hobbies can definitely be something that is good for men and women to do, you know, to release. You know, they call this sawdust therapy, getting in there and using the saw and making something. You have this image in your mind, something that you want to, a project you want to do, working on that and seeing it through to completion is good. I think it's something where you can escape, you can get away. Now, of course, there has to be balance on, you know, the amount of time that you spend on projects versus time with the family and time at work, all those things. But hobbies, healthy hobbies, I think we can all benefit from them.